Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Okay, let me know if you can hear me this morning. Looking to see what's going on with my headset. Okay, can you guys hear me this morning? I see, okay, I see my Facebook, my Instagram peeps. Hey, Anna, on Facebook. Should I assume that you can hear me? Because it looks like my headset may or may not be working. So let's try it without. Give me some feedback. You guys can hear me okay? Okay, I'm going to assume that you can. All right. Okay, great. Well, welcome to Mindset Monday. You can see I have a little different setting today. I'm here in my festive living room. We celebrate with a tree. We celebrate with our dreidels and menorahs in this house. Hanukkah and Christmas alive and well. So love it. Love this season. And I'm happy to be here to see you guys. Thank you guys all for jumping in. Wow. Okay. Good to see all of you. Ginger, good to see you. All right. Kayla, Steph, great to see you guys. Sam. Okay. John, good to see you. Anna, thank you for coming. All right, guys, today is a topic that the topic of today, I'll just throw it out there and say, why won't my team fully engage with the culture and maybe the guidelines and the way I think we should be doing business, the way maybe I as a leader set out to do business? Why isn't my team buying in? And I have to say that as long as I've been doing coaching, been out in the country doing education, and recently in my coaching sessions, which come across my Zoom frequently, is why hasn't my team fully bought into the culture? And when I talk about the culture, it could mean a lot of things. So it could mean, why are people trying to buck the dress code system? Why, if people know that we start at 8:45 with a client coming in at our first client coming at 9, why are they there at 9:05? Why don't people come to our team meetings? Why? I could go on and on. I'm sure you guys have a list of things you could add to. So if you're thinking of why blank, throw it in the comments so that I could see that you are completely relating to this. You know, let me know, what is your big why? Why aren't my team ... Fill in the dots. I remember, it brings me back to when I was a new owner and I was 27 and it was 1992, July 14th of 1992. I was 27 years old. I opened my first business and I had these dreams, and I had these dreams of opening a business where people that wanted to come to work for me would automatically buy into what I had to offer. And just because in the interview I shared what I had to offer, I thought that they could read my mind, and all of a sudden they would be doing or operating or showing up the way I thought in my mind people should show up and operate if they were working for my company. So Lori said overbooking. Okay, so maybe there's a should around there. Whenever we use the word should, we have to look at, why are we saying should, and why isn't it the way that it needs to be or the way that we want it to be in our business. Sam says, why doesn't the team want to show up for education? Right. I mean, that's a really big one. Why is a team not showing up for team meetings? Why, when we know that we take a 9 o'clock client, we're in at 8:45 to prepare. Why are the team not in at 8:45? Not all of the team, but maybe a good part of the team. Maybe people are just not buying in. They're just marching to the beat of their own drum. And I remember, and as a new owner, and I'll just never forget this, that there became this habit when people would come into work, if they didn't have a first client, they would grab a magazine or the newspaper and literally like go sit in the shampoo area and read. And I was just infuriated. I just thought to myself, oh my God, there's so many things to do. This is not a part of our culture, our practice. So I remember calling a really good friend of mine, and this is in 1992. We go back a long time. His name may sound familiar to you, but my really good friend, Win Claybaugh, who I was traveling around doing business seminars with in 1992. And he was like my mentor. Then I called him and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I have people coming in late. I have people sitting at the shampoo area, like reading a magazine, waiting for their client. And I've never operated that way. So I was horrified, right? And Win said something to me, and I've probably shared this with you on my lives before, but I'm going to share it with you again. And he said to me, there are leaders and there are followers. And if you don't set yourself apart as a leader of that company, then people are going to follow the lead of what the masses are doing. And that kind of brings me to what I've learned over the years, that either you create the culture or the culture will be created for you. Okay. So my biggest disappointment in my leadership learning journey was that people can't read my mind. Throw me a thumbs up if that's your biggest disappointment, maybe in this moment and you haven't realized it yet, or if you realize that along the way and you're like, shoot, I realized that and then I haven't remembered that. It hasn't stayed at the forefront of my mind. But people cannot read your mind. I want to just let that drop, because so many times we are thinking of how we want things to be done, or we're thinking of the way things should be done, the shoulds again. And we expect people to just know and read our mind, and they're not. And therefore, so that was my first biggest disappointment, is that people can't read my mind. All right, listen, I used to beat myself up as an owner because it seemed like I was communicating. It seemed like I set out a good path forward. It seemed like all those things. But as I made myself the project of a learning leader over the years, and decided to stop blaming my team when anything went south, and stop saying like, well, had they not done this, like I wouldn't be in this position, which is really a victim role. When I started looking at myself in the mirror every time something went south and said, what could I have done different to create a different outcome? Maybe I could have communicated differently. Maybe I was not connected. Maybe I overlooked red flags that I shouldn't have overlooked. And then voila, here we are, when I should have had a conversation earlier on. And I know that everybody here that's a leader that's listening to this has had an experience where you maybe thought, oh God, I could have done this months ago. I maybe could have let go of this person a year or two ago, but I didn't. And here we are today. People are not going to read your mind. They're just not. But how can we then show up and operate in a way that we keep getting better? And I said something a few minutes ago that I don't want you to overlook, which was when I made myself the project of my own leadership desires, my vision of what I could be as a leader, I made myself a project. And I said, every time something went south, I said, what could I have done different to have a different outcome? And I made myself practice that, no matter how scary it was, no matter how much I didn't want to have a conversation that was in front of me. I had to find a way to have it. And if the conversation went south, I had to learn from maybe I wasn't prepared. Maybe I came in defensive. Maybe I came in too hot. Maybe I didn't come in clear enough. There are so many nuances to great leadership where you get a group of people following you that buy into your culture. So I want to go over 3 parts today, and I hope that at the end of this live today, there's some piece that you can take away that is going to make your journey a little less bumpy, little less rocky, and that you have some empowerment to make some great changes for yourself on your leadership path. We've never arrived. I mean, I opened my business in 1992. I sold my last salon this past year in August. And up to that day, in rolling out the sale of the business to the team, I look back and say, you know what, there's a few things I could have done better there and could have been a little clearer. It went off great, but there were things that could have gone off better. So I think I'm a good leader, and I think that I'm a great communicator, and I also have room to grow. Always, and in my own family with my son, I mean, navigate a 16-year-old. You're always going to find ways to approach things differently to have a different or a better outcome. So today I want to talk about 3 different parts. Part 1 would be understanding what the challenges are. Two, root causes of lack of engagement. And 3, how to reignite engagement and buy-in. So I want to end up on that note. Rebecca, how funny. Yeah, does their mind not work? Yeah, why are they not reading my mind, right? And Kelly says, disappointed because you said it once, so that's good enough, right? Kelly, that brings up such a good point. We think because we've said something once, rolled something out once, re-engage the team to remind them of certain cultures or practices, it doesn't mean it's gonna stick. No, it's the repetitive action over and over and over again. And I'm gonna get into that when we talk about our final step, which is how to reignite. And I just want you guys also to maybe hook onto this. My friend Tom Kuhn from Cunity, who used to be my business coach 30 years ago when I first opened my business, he always talked about saying things and rolling things out 4 times 4 ways. That some people learn and hear things by hearing it. Some people have to do things in order to really get it. Some people have to see a visual, and we all need repetition. And so, Kelly, I think you're right on the nose that if we've said something once and we're irritated because we have to keep coaching our team, I want you guys to understand that our job is to continue coaching the team. Our job is not a one and done. You didn't tell your kid, if you have kids when they were 2, to don't put your hand on the stove when it's hot. I'm still telling my 16-year-old that. That's more than 4 times 4 ways, people. So, all right, let's get into it. Understanding the challenges. So there's a couple of things under here that I want to go over. The first one is lack of clear communication. Sometimes we think we've communicated our vision, but have we really made it clear? Again, our vision or our goals, it's not enough to just say it, but how do we create exercises to have our team be engaged in the exercise to really feel and see what it is that we're communicating? And it's not what we're communicating all the time, it's how we're communicating. I had a client this past week who rolled something out to their team, some different changes, and it ended up not going great. And so when we dissected the way it got rolled out, there was a lot of learning to discover in the way that we roll things out to be able to have our team feel like, wow, I really get that. And I understand why we need to do what we're doing. So the next thing under understanding this challenge of lack of engagement is absence of emotional connection. Okay, If we need to change something that we're doing in the business and we're going to roll it out, and I use the word rolling it out a lot, or launching, you'll hear me say rolling it out or launching. That's because I in no way, shape, or form expect my team anymore to understand what I'm thinking and to say something once and have a whole group of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 people truly get the whole context of what I'm saying. So your message has to be concise, consistent, and relatable. Okay. Also, an absence of emotional connection. People don't buy into what you're going to be doing. They buy into the reason why we're making any changes, or the reason why we have these guidelines for culture, whatever it is. I think Sam said, why doesn't the team show up for education? Maybe it's not important to them. There could be a million different reasons why. And so we're going to get into how to re-engage our team in a couple of minutes. But as an example, like if you need to raise prices, and maybe that's a touchy subject for your team because they're scared of the client's pocketbook, which is super common. I personally have no issue raising prices. That's just my personality. I feel like I wouldn't do it like every 5 minutes, but when we raise it, we would raise our prices probably every year. It's probably goes along with inflation. The price of all the products that we are using are going up, and every time the products are going up and we're not raising prices, it is ticking away from our profitability on the bottom line, right? So if we just say we're going to raise prices because it costs more to do business, that maybe would be enough for your team. But I'd rather see a slide come up and really talk about all of the price increases that we as a company have had. And I would like to know from my team how inflation has hurt their bottom line. And their bottom line, it's their profit. Their profit is, I get my paycheck, I have bills, and then what's ever left over is their personal profit. How would their personal profit be affected if their rent went up by $200 a month? They would need to make more in order to make the same amount of profit. But our team doesn't think that way, guys. And so unless we become an educator and really help to emotionally connect with them around the struggles, around all of these prices are going up, how are we going to offset that and stay sustainable? But instead, I hear people saying, well, the prices are going to go up because it costs more to do business, or because we need the money, or because we haven't hit goal, or if, we don't charge the right prices, you're not going to be getting your benefits. Like, those things don't work, guys. Maybe they did 25 years ago. They don't work now for this generation. I'm here to tell you. So if we are not willing to change and pivot as leaders, you can expect your team pivoting and moving on. So you have a choice. You have a choice, like we all do, to look at yourself and say, what is it that I could be doing differently and better as a leader? Maybe you need leadership coaching. Maybe you need to read books on leadership, listen to audio books, watch podcasts, and really start this thing called the project of me. How can I become a better communicator? And another mistake I think we make is, before we launch something or roll it out, we have been working on it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, working out all the bugs and the details. And as we're working on whatever it is we're rolling out or launching, we're becoming comfortable with it. So it becomes for us like, oh, okay, this is second nature. Not remembering when we roll it out to our team, it's the first time they're hearing it. And we're like, well, I don't know why they're freaking out. I mean, this just feels natural. Well, it feels natural to you because you've been working on it for 3 months. It doesn't feel natural to them. It's a new thought process, a new idea, maybe a new way of working for them that might impact them in a way that has them feeling uncomfortable. But if you are not emotionally connected to your team, so not only what we need to do and why, But how are we going to do this in a way that feels comfortable? If we're not helping them through that, we're leaving them to fend on their own. Of course, people are going to have some feelings around that. They're going to feel a certain way. Okay. So, all right, where are we? Am I going off on different tangents here? Okay. Another reason why there may be a challenge is maybe there's a misalignment in values. All right. So you might say that one of our core values is teamwork. Maybe you'll say, like, for us, one of our core values when I was an owner, I can't believe that still feels weird coming out of my mouth. When I was an owner of salons, one of our core values was relationships. And if we didn't constantly do things to build relationships, and a relationship to me is a two-way street. How are you feeling about things? How am I feeling about things? How are the clients feeling about things? Building relationships of all the people that are affected by us being here and being in business. And one example of building relationships is finding out how people feel about how we're doing business, which is why we did surveys a lot with our team. We did one-on-ones a lot with our team. We did surveys. So it's like, if relationships are important, then what are you doing? What's the behavior? Something I can hear you say or see you do. What is the behavior that you're executing in your business that's saying we are all about relationships? Are we getting together with our teams? Are we and in our meetings, does it feel like the relationships are important? So to say you're about teamwork, but never do anything that's team oriented on a day-to-day, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter, year-to-year basis is just lip service. So again, misalignment in values. If you say you are going to be some certain way in your business and it's a core value, make sure you have a set of behaviors that are attached to that core value, that you are acting in and behaving in a way that aligns that core value, that somebody can come in and just say, wow, I'm experiencing a lot of teamwork here. Is that one of your core values? Your core value should be illustrated by how people feel about your company when they're there, not what you say it is. So that takes a lot of work. What are the behaviors? How do we launch the behaviors? How do we coach the behaviors? How do we get excited? How do we reward the behaviors? Right? And what is the clear path to success around things that you're rolling out that you want people to be engaged in? What's a clear path? So you might have an idea of what you want to change or what you want to re-implement. What does a clear path look like? What do the behaviors look like? What will the coaching look like? What will the rewards look like? It's not just standing up in front of a group of people and saying, this is how we're going to do things now because we need to do it that way, because it's the latest trend, because we need the money, because we're not hitting goal. It just doesn't work. And if it hasn't worked for you, and maybe you're shaking your head, I don't know if you are, I can only see me saying, that didn't work for me. If that didn't work for you, it's time to go back to the project called me. I'm the project that needs to elevate my leadership skills. All right, root causes. Some root causes, this is part 2, of lack of engagement. So, feeling undervalued. If your team feels undervalued, engagement drops when team members don't feel appreciated for the contributions. So are you regularly recognizing people for their contributions? Do you have a huddle in the morning where in the huddle you can look at from the day before and recognize if people had a great day, if people were showing up and being really teamwork oriented, and what exactly did they do that you are recognizing them for? Not just like, oh, you got, well, Jane over there was a great team player. No, what were the behaviors that Jane was showing up and doing that you're recognizing her for? Jane, thank you so much I just saw you doing dishes all day long and we were so busy. I can't even tell you how much that means to the team. Specific emotionally connected, really, really appreciative, concise, specific feedback. If you feel like you're not getting something in your life, and I feel like this is work, personal, whatever. If you feel like you're lacking something, maybe because you're not giving that thing. If I'm lacking love and appreciation, am I giving love and appreciation? Or am I so bitter that I'm not getting it, that I'm not giving it, and therefore I'm not getting it? Hamster wheel. Okay. Feeling undervalued. Are there limited growth opportunities for your team? Or are there paths for them to grow? Workplace culture issues. Are there toxic behaviors, favoritism, lack of inclusivity can poison team morale and engagement? Take an honest look at your team, at your culture, and say, are there things here that I am not leading the team in a fair way? It's okay if your answer is yes. It's okay. We're human. We're allowed to take responsibility for what maybe we haven't done the best way and say, I'm going to work on this. I don't like that so-and-so has felt, or certain people have felt a certain way. That's not my goal. And if I've done that in any way, I am sorry. And I am going to work on myself to make that better. It's okay. It's all right. Leadership disconnect. Sometimes as leaders, we're so caught up in the office and fighting fires and doing systems work, we're not connected with what's really happening boots on the ground. So if you're an owner like me, maybe, that is not in the business all the time. When I had my business, I had an amazing manager. That manager had to be boots on the ground, really connecting. Does it have to be you? Not all the time. Does it have to be somebody? 100%. And somebody that your team loves and looks at as, I want to work hard for this person and they have my best interest in heart and I know that they have my back. So if it's not you, it needs to be somebody that is showing up related to the team, that the team know that is my fearless leader. I got to come in and we set it up where I was the cheerleader and I could come in and give hugs and this and that, but that took years to cultivate a super strong manager where he was the go-to person for everything. And I got to come in and be the cheerleader and help behind the scenes. So it doesn't always have to be you. There are paths for growth for people, the right people in the right positions, so you can start delegating. Okay, I know we're running a little bit over, but I want to finish this part, which is how to reignite reignite engagement and buy-in. I've talked about this before, and I have some lives. You can go on my Facebook page. All of my recordings are on there on Keri Davis Consulting. They're easier to find on the Facebook page than on Instagram, and go under videos. And I have a few videos on mission and vision, mission statements, and your vision and your culture. And so, but I am going to go over it a little bit today. But you start with your vision. If you feel like you've gotten lost and people aren't connected with your vision, your core values, and you feel like you're operating on one mindset and they're operating on another, it's time to have a salon celebration, a meeting, whatever you want to call it, a gathering, and revisit what your vision is, what your core values are, what your mission statement is, why these core values, why this mission. If you don't have 3 core values, I don't recommend having more than that. Your team should know what those core values are and what the behaviors are that drive a culture led by those core values. So if you haven't done one of those meetings in a while, this is the perfect time of the year. We're coming towards the end of, moving towards the end of December. We have a kickoff at the beginning of the year, and maybe it's an ideal time to look at how you can revisit who you are and the behaviors that line up with that. You know, Sam, to your point, You guys are an educational company. Why are you an educational company? Have we lost sight of that? Or is there too much education going on? People feel burnt out. Or is it the wrong education? Have you done a survey to see what this team actually want and when and how often? Get a read on your culture. But this is the perfect time to make it inspiring around why we have these core values, why we have this mission, and the behaviors that drive who we are as a company. Create a feedback loop. Engagement thrives on trust, and trust grows with open communication. Always be asking for feedback, and in the appropriate ways, like to launch a meeting and roll something out and do a lot of work on it. And by the way, when you're getting ready to roll something out or launch some meeting, the day before is not the day to prepare for it. The month before is the time to start preparing for it. So it takes weeks until you land with a message and content to roll out to your team that's going to feel engaged and inspiring, and where the why is as big as life, where they're like, I get it. If you don't know how to roll out a team meeting that's inspiring and engaging, it's time to learn. Reach out. It is one of my specialties. For those of you that are my clients on here, you can probably throw into the mix that attest to the fact that I really loved planning team meetings and inclusivity, where there were exercises for people, and I don't know, where it was just fun and connected, and there is a system for that. There is an agenda for that. And so as a leader, it's good to learn, how do I want to roll something out. How do I plug it into this agenda that really magnifies what we're talking about and gets engagement? So create a feedback loop, invest in their growth, offer training, coaching, mentorship to help your team reach their goals. Celebrate wins, big and small. So, I want to just share like something with you that my manager Michael did all the time. He's the owner of Gila Root, my business, one of the owners. One thing that he did, that it was just a daily small thing that he did that I always thought was just like silly but super fun for the team, is whenever he was getting ready for his huddle. So if I'd get there and he's getting ready for the huddles, he'd have everybody's worksheets out, because we worksheet our tickets in the morning, and he'd have what they did the day before, and anybody that did great the day before, whatever. It could have been teamwork, it could have been someone helping another stylist out, it could be someone that completely exceeded their goals, whatever it was. He'd have these little stickers, and they were the scratch and sniff stickers. And he knew which ones the staff liked just because of their reaction. And he'd have a little note on their sheet every morning with a sticker on it, because what that said was, I see you. I see you. I care about you. We're connected. That's what that says. It's little, it's small, it's fun. It doesn't cost a lot, but it says, I see you and you're known. That's what it says. And don't we all just want to be seen, right? We all just want to be seen. All right. Celebrate big wins and build authentic relationships. Get to know your team. And not to the point where you're all up in their dirty business, okay? Unless you have to be and they need help. All right, disclaimer. So, Rebecca said, what kind of exercise was your favorite? I mean, the exercise, you guys, depends on, and I don't have time to even get into it today, but maybe I'll do a live on creating a great team meeting. The exercise has to do with the content or the goal of the meeting. Whatever the goal is, the exercise should line up with what you're trying to say in your launch or your meeting or your gathering. So Listen, okay, as we're rounding out today, I did go 5 minutes over. Throw out into the comments, what was your win today? What are you going to do different? As you move towards the week and start planning for the new year and your kickoff meeting, what's the one takeaway that you have today? Throw that in the comments for me. Throw that in the comments for me. And my other question is, do you want me to do a live on team meetings next week and kind of go through how to organize any and every meeting you have? And I could kind of share a type of agenda that might be helpful. So throw comments in. I want to thank you guys so much for showing up today. If you liked this content, share it. Tag somebody. Rebecca says saying the same thing 10 times isn't a reflection of my leadership. It's how people learn. Yes. Going over core values. I love that. And yes to the team meetings next week. Okay, we have our topic. So you guys, listen, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot out of today. I hope you have a great week. And I know it's crazy busy. So thank you for showing up. Mwah, mwah. Happy holidays if I don't see you, but I hope to see you next week. Bye, you guys. Take care.